Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bill. We're going to be in the Keeper's Guide for Call of Cthulhu, continuing the Grimoire spell series. For this video, we are going to do the summoning spells followed by the binding spells. Because not necessarily when you find a summoning spell do you automatically bind a mythos creature. So without further ado, let's start reading into this. Summoning spells cost variable magic points, 1d4 sanity points. Casting time 5 minutes per magic point spent. Binding takes 1 round. Such spells concern themselves with alien races and attendants, those monsters that commonly serve greater monsters or wizards. The general procedure for these spells are the same, but conditions may vary from spell to spell. Knowing one such spell is of no use whatsoever in attempting to cast another. Unless the keeper wishes otherwise, the summoning and the binding portions of each spell are learned together. Foolish is the impatient wizard who only learns the summoning and not the binding. With the exception of summon/bind servitor of the outer gods, these spells require the sacrifice of 1 magic point per 10 percentiles chance for success. For example, 3 magic points gives a 30% chance for the spell to succeed. In general, for each magic point spent, the caster must spend 5 minutes chanting. The greater the chance for success, the longer the spell takes to cast. A result of a 96 through 100 is always a failure. A rolled result of 100 should always have bad consequences for the wizard concerned. The caster also loses 1d4 sanity points per spell cast, whether the spell succeeds or not. If a success, 1 being appears per spell. 2d10 game minutes after the chant concludes. The thing appearing may also require sanity loss to see it. As the keeper wishes, the thing arrives bound, or the keeper may ask the caster to make an opposed power roll versus the summoned being. With a success, the thing is bound. With a failure, it attacks the caster and then returns from whence it came. Bound, the thing must obey 1 order by the caster, even to attacking its own kind, after which it is freed and returns from whence it came. Form of the command. The caster's command to the thing must be specific and limited in duration. Protect me from harm forever would not be a valid command. However, slay that man in the corner would be. The thing is bound to the caster until it fulfills a command. A bound thing without a command soon finds a way to leave. Orders might include carrying someone somewhere, presiding at some ceremony, being especially docile while being examined by a group of professors, appearing somewhere as a warning to those assembled, whatever can be imagined. Keep commands simple. The best rule of thumb is that a command have no more words than 1/5 of the thing's intelligence. Simple gestures such as pointing will be understood. Assume that the thing is always able to understand a straightforward command, whether spoken in English or Urdu. See also separate binding overleaf. Now it talks about the individual summoning creatures. Summon Bayaki. A whistle must be blown during the chant. This spell is active only on nights when Aldebaran is above the horizon. October through March are the best months. The summoned Bayaki will flap down out of the sky, still icy from its travels through space. If the whistle is enchanted, each point of POW in its enchantment adds 2 percentiles to the chance for success. Such a whistle may be used again and again. Alternative names: call into service thy steed, or the melody that brings the journeyed. The next one is summon dark young. Brings present a single dark young. A beast of at least size 40 must be sacrificed. The summoner needs a knife to make a certain ritual cuts in dispatching the victim. Cast this spell outdoors in a wood during the dark of the moon. A dark young will stalk out of the shadows after the summoning. Alternative names: invoke the dark of the forest, and knife ritual of the bleeding bark. Summon dimensional shambler. A single dimensional shambler gradually assembles itself out of thin air. The spell requires a dagger made from any pure metal such as copper or iron. Alloys such as brass will not work. If the dagger is enchanted, the chance for success also raises by 2 percentiles per point of POW in the dagger. This spell may be cast day or night. One authority has written that shamblers are more easily confused in bright sunlight. Alternative names: recitation to bring the wanderer, the song of copper. The next spell is summon fire vampire. Causes one fire vampire to swoop down from the sky like a skittering star. A bonfire or other source of flame is required. The spell may be cast only at night when the star Fomalhaut is above the horizon. September through November are the best times in moderately northern latitudes. In other words, southern latitudes would have a lot easier time summoning. Alternative names: conjure the glittering ones, the autumnal call of living fire. The next summoning spell is summon hunting horror. A single horror appears headfirst, as though entering through a hole in the air. This spell may be cast only at night in the open air, if no alternate sacrifice has been prepared for the binding. It takes the caster and vanishes. Alternative names: petition the feasting teeth, utterance that brings forth the twisting devils. The next spell is summon Night's Gaunt. A nearly silent swoosh of air comes, and then the single ghastly form of the blank-faced flying horror appears. To summon, a stone emblazoned with the cryptic elder sign must be present, but the stone itself need not be star-shaped. The spell can be cast only at night when there is no moon. Alternative names: the whispered words of the faceless men, conjure the winged shadow. Summon servitor of the outer gods. A single servitor arrives amid haunting echoes of insane piping. The magic point cost is triple that of the standard summoning spell. For each 3 magic points sacrificed, increase the chance for a successful cast by 10 percentiles. A result of a 96 through 100 is always a failure. Each cast of this spell also costs 3d4 sanity points. A flute is also needed to cast this spell. If the flute is enchanted, it increases the chance for the spell's success by 2 percentiles per point of POW within the flute. Cultists cast this spell anywhere and at any time that is especially unhallowed. Typically, nights would be Midsummer Eve, Samhain, and Walpurgis Night. Alternative names: the Ritual Symphony of the Indescribable Ones, recitation of the maddening piping. Summon Star Vampire. Curious rustling sounds are heard once this invisible thing lurks near. The caster also needs a book in which are written or inscribed the words of the spell. If the book is enchanted, The chance for success is increased by 2 percentiles per point of POW within the book. This spell can be cast only at night under the cloudless sky. The creature is invisible save when its veins fill with blood from some visible creature. Alternative names: the Night Call of the Feasting Death, Chant of the Bloody Letters. So that's all the summoning spells. So let's get into the binding part. This is the separate binding. Costs 1 sanity point, casting time 1 round. Binding and summoning are 2 sides of the same coin. Sometimes they are learned as one spell, sometimes not. At the keeper's discretion, the effects may be combined or 2 separate rolls might be asked for. One to summon and a second to bind. If a monster arrives unbound or is come upon unexpectedly, it may be bound on the spot. The caster must know the summon bind spell for that type of thing and must spend a round chanting before the thing can be bound. For the spell to take effect, the caster must succeed in an opposed POW roll with the target. Each cast of the binding costs 1 sanity point and variable magic points. A binding works on only one creature at a time. One option open to the caster is to invest a number of magic points equal to 1/5 of the summoned creature's POW to gain a bonus die on the opposed POW roll to bind the monster. Of course, the caster will not know the POW of the creature, thus must take a gamble on how many magic points to sacrifice. An attacking creature cannot be bound by the person it is fighting. However, it could be bound by a person able to hold back from the fray. A creature presently bound cannot be rebound until its present command is completed. A creature to be bound must be visible to the caster and within 100 yards. Binding requires an opposed roll, and opposed rolls cannot be pushed. If the opposed roll failed, the caster is in trouble. So the first one is Bind Bayaki. If an enchanted whistle is used, the caster gains a bonus die on the opposed POW roll. Such a whistle may be used again and again. Alternative names: Obligation of the Steed, Compel Thy Journeyed. Bind Dark Young. If the caster uses an enchanted knife to kill their victim, with certain ritual cuts, they gain a bonus die to the opposed POW roll. Alternative names: Entrance the Heartwood, Command the Forest for Thy Binding. Bind Dimensional Shambler. If the caster possesses an enchanted dagger made from any pure metal, such as copper or iron, they gain 1 bonus to the opposed POW roll. A second bonus die may be gained if the dimensional shambler is exposed to bright sunlight. Alternative names: the Copper Binding, Entrapment of the Searing Light. Bind Fire Vampire. If the caster stands within a bonfire, they gain 1 bonus die to the opposed POW roll. How the flames are resisted is up to the caster. Alternative names: Annexation of the Fiery Devil, Authority of the Blazing Tongue. Bind Hunting Horror. The blood sacrifice of a sentient being is needed. The caster does not perform the sacrifice, the hunting horror seizes the sacrifice. The caster must succeed in an opposed POW roll to bind the horror. Alternative names: Tie the Twisting Fear to Thy Will, Deed of Murder. Bind Night Gaunt. If the caster has a stone emblazoned with the cryptic elder sign, they gain 1 bonus on the opposed POW roll. Alternative names: Master of the Faceless Ones, the elder token by which they will know you. Bind Servitor of the Outer Gods. If the caster possesses an enchanted flute, they gain 1 bonus die to bind the servitor. Alternative names: the Secret Note of Command, Pact of Withering Madness. Bind Star Vampire. If the caster possesses an enchanted book containing the spell, they gain 1 bonus die on the opposed power roll. Alternative names: Vow of the Bloody Accord and the Ungodly Promise. And that will end the summon binding spell video. Thank you for sticking with me through all that. If you enjoyed this, give me a like and a share. Put a comment in below which summoning spell was most entertaining to you. Until we all game again, guys.